The British government is taking a tough stance against Islamic extremism in Britain. The Home Office declared that hate preachers from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Indonesia will be blocked from entering the UK. The British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, seeks a more robust response from the police as he ordered them to tackle the situation, identify and arrest the extremists among the protesters and bring them to justice. Some right groups have criticised the move and have called it anti-Islam. The government said it is taking stricter measures to curb the spread of Islamist extremism in the country to protect British citizens. The British Home Secretary, James Cleverly, stated that those in the United Kingdom on visas who choose to incite hate or seek to intimidate people will lose their right to be in the country. According to the UK media, a new plan is being drafted by the government under which the ban will be executed. The United Kingdom has seen a surge in Islamic extremism in recent months as a result of the Israel-Gaza conflict. On 7 October, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel, killing over 1,400 people and taking over 200 people hostage. Since this incident, Israel has been bombing Gaza and has killed over 30,000 people according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Since the beginning of the conflict, there have been protests in the UK and many other countries across the world calling for a cessation of hostilities and an end to the Israeli offensive in the Gaza Strip. The British government in its legitimate right has been doing everything in its power to curb violent protests by Islamic extremists among the protesters who are taking advantage of the situation to undermine and erode British fundamental values and principles. The British government has drafted a plan to stall the entrance of hate preachers with extremist Islamist views from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Indonesia by blocking their entrance into the UK. The Prime Minister, in his speech delivered on March 1, 2024, lamented the gradual spread of extremism in his country fueled by preachers of hate. He said, and I quote, "In recent weeks and months, we have seen a shocking increase in extremist disruption and criminality. What started as protests on our streets has descended into intimidation, threats, and planned acts of violence. Jewish children are afraid to wear their school uniform lest it reveal their identity. Muslim women are abused in the street for the actions of a terrorist group they have no connection with. Now our democracy itself is a target. Council meetings and local events have been stormed. MPs do not feel safe in their homes. Long-standing parliamentary conventions have been upended because of safety concerns. I need to speak to you all this evening because this situation has gone on long enough. Threats of violence and intimidation are alien to our way of doing things. They must be resisted at all times. Nearly everyone in Britain supports these basic values, but there are small and vocal hostile groups who do not. Islamist extremists and the far right feed off and embolden each other. They are equally desperate to pretend that their violence is somehow justified, etc." End quote. In a separate speech, the British Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Since the October 7 attack in Israel, we've seen protests across our country almost every weekend. Many of these have been respectful, but have also been far too many appalling examples of anti-Semitism, violent intimidation, and the glorification of terrorism." End quote. The British Prime Minister is determined to curb the spread of Islamist extremist ideologies by denying visas to those who it said are largely from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Indonesia. Under the new plan being drafted by the government, radical and intolerant Islamic extremists with extremist ideologies from the aforementioned countries and other Muslim countries living in Britain with a visa would have their visas cancelled or revoked, and those outside the UK would be refused visas should they try to travel to the UK. The critiques of this new law hold that the UK is specifically targeting the Muslim population, while the vast majority of British citizens both at home and abroad welcome and applaud the move. The British Home Office, on 30 April, stated, and I quote, "Dangerous hate preachers spewing vile extremism in our communities could be blocked from entering the UK." A new task force has been set up as part of government action to clamp down on hate and protect the British public. Spanning expertise from the Home Office, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office and the Department for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities, the task force will identify prominent extremists overseas who could pose a risk to public safety in the UK. Hate preachers and extremists will be automatically referred to the Home Office for immigration action, including the cancellation or refusal of visas, should they attempt to travel to the UK. Information will be gathered using our embassy network and using open-source intelligence expertise. The government will also work in communities across the UK to build a picture of prominent overseas extremists who intend to travel to this country. UK-based organisations attempting to sponsor visas for dangerous individuals may also face having their sponsorship licence revoked, meaning they can no longer request visas. By taking this more proactive approach, the government will be able to refuse more visas to dangerous individuals intent on spreading extremism, stopping them from entering the UK. End quote. In the words of the British Home Secretary James Cleverly, the UK already has some of the most sophisticated mechanisms for stopping foreign extremists from entering the UK, but since the 7th of October 2023, it has become clear that we must do more. That is why we are establishing a new joint task force with the FCDO and DLUHC to bolster our approach to tackling foreign extremists and prevent them from coming to the UK to spread their vile narratives. This work follows on from the Prime Minister's speech on extremism and his commitment to act to prevent people from entering the country who seek to undermine our shared values. Last month, the former Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, stated that it is easier than ever for extremists around the world to spread poisonous, extremist ideologies from afar. It is therefore right that we use our international expertise and partnerships to fight back against those determined to sow division and to stop them from coming to the UK, as we work to uphold the core British values of freedom, democracy, and respect for the rule of law. The British Security Minister Tom Tugendhat added his voice to the ongoing British government effort to tackle Islamist extremism, saying, "There's no place in the UK for foreign nationals who spread hate and promote extremist ideologies." This task force will deliver a step change in our ability to identify these hateful individuals and stop them from ever reaching our border. We will not apologise for defending our country's fundamental values and principles. This new task force will help to do exactly that. To protect the public from extremists already in the country, a new dedicated reporting route will be launched across the Prevent network to report foreign nationals who are sowing division and spreading hate in communities to the Home Office, potentially having them removed from the country. This will mean the government casts its net far and wide to identify anyone promoting extremist narratives and refer them for immigration action, working across organizations delivering on the ground in communities, including schools, colleges, universities, health settings, police forces and local authorities. As the Prime Minister has said earlier in the year, on too many occasions recently our streets have been hijacked by small groups who are hostile to our values and have no respect for our democratic traditions. Today's announcement builds on the government's commitment to tackle extremism following an unprecedented rise in anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim hatred, as well as protests outside MPs' homes since the 7th of October 2023. In my view, I believe the British Prime Minister is doing the right thing to protect his country from Islamist fanaticism. As a Christian, I respect all religions, all cultures and the established laws of any country I am visiting or living in. If an immigrant does not like the culture and tradition of her host country, he or she has the right to relocate to another country that upholds his or her Islamic views and values. Many British citizens would argue that most Islamist extremists are from Islamic countries where protests, freedom of speech, etc., are not allowed. But here they are in Britain, trying to impose their own way of life on their host country. It is out there in the public domain that 40% of British Muslims want Sharia law to be imposed in Great Britain. This would have been unthinkable half a century ago. But here we are, grappling with the possibility of having Sharia law imposed in the United Kingdom. What are your thoughts? Is the British Prime Minister and the UK government taking the right steps to curb Islamic extremism to protect the British people? Is Rishi Sunak doing the right thing to protect British citizens? Does Islam pose a threat to the existence of Britain and its fundamental values and principles? Can Islam take over Britain in the near future, as many are speculating? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe to this channel for more content about UK immigration. Thanks for watching.